Alright, so in this particular problem, we have a question that asks, what is the mass of 1.872 moles of copper 2 acetate? Alright, so here it wants mass and it's given to you as moles. So using this particular little flow chart here, you just have to know where to start and where to go. It wants mass given moles, so in this one, we start in the middle because you're given moles, and we're going to go to the right side of this flow chart. So I'm just going to box that particular area up there. So from moles to grams, pretty easy to do. You just have to pay attention to copper acetate, the formula here. Alright, so here's the periodic table. I'm just going to circle all the elements that's involved. So here's copper, number 29 in yellow. Hydrogen is going to be top left of the periodic table, and copper and oxygen. Okay, so I'm just going to highlight or circle all the elements that are involved. Once again, the only thing you have to be really careful here is the formula itself. So you notice here, copper is outside of the parentheses, and then inside the parentheses you have acetate, and then to the right of that you have a subscript 2 outside the parentheses. So you're going to have to do molar mass super carefully. Alright, so if you look at this formula correctly, there's copper, there's only one copper. So here in my work, I put the 1 in the front. That just represents we have 1 copper, and the molar mass for copper is 63.546 gram according to this particular periodic table. And then I know I wrote here distribute just to help you, hopefully as you practice, if you're new at this, to make sure you do distribution correctly. Otherwise, you're going to make a doable task super confusing, okay? So watch my arrow. The 2 outside the parentheses, just like in math, you have to distribute to the coefficients or subscript here with carbon. So 2 times 2 is going to give you 4. So in my work here, I have a 4, and there's carbon. And then outside of parentheses, I have 4. And then the molar mass for carbon, according to this periodic table, is 12.011 grams. If you do that across, you should get 48.044. And then I want to do the same step for hydrogen. To the right of hydrogen, we have a subscript 3, but outside the parentheses, we have a 2. So 3 times 2 is 6. So here in my work, where my cursor is, I have a 6, and there's H. So as you can see, it's pretty easy to do. You just got to make sure you distribute correctly and hopefully do your calculator work correctly. So here outside the parentheses, I have a 6. The molar mass for hydrogen is 1.008, and then we do that, we get 6.048 grams. And then last but not least, you have oxygen. Oxygen has a 2 to it, and then outside of that, you have another 2. So 2 times 2 is going to be a 4, and here's 4, okay? So outside the parentheses, here's 4 times molar mass of oxygen is 15.999, and then that gives you 63.996. Now, well, once you have all these values calculated, the molar mass is super easy to do, right? So in order to do this problem, you just want to start with the given value, 1.87 moles of copper acetate. Again, I like to put that over a 1, and you're just going to multiply. Well, just based on the fact that you start with mole, the next conversion step should have mole on the bottom. So I'm just going to put 1 mole. And then, well, for this one, we want to go from moles to mass, aka grams. So here's where you need to pay attention to the work that you've done. So the molar mass for copper acetate was simply just taking all these values. Watch my cursor, 63.546, because that's 1 copper. You have 4 carbon, which will make up 48.044 grams. And you have 6 hydrogen, which is 6.048 grams. And then you have 4 oxygen, which is 63.996 grams. So if you put all that in your calculator, you should get the molar mass of copper acetate as 181.634 grams. Well, that's what I'm going to use here in my work. Right? I have moles. Moles going to cancel out, but to get from moles to grams, I just have to use the conversion for 1 mole. And how many grams does that make? Alright, so for this one, 1 mole is 181.634 grams. Moles cancels out. The only unit left over is grams. So if you multiply across the numerator, you should get a value of 340. So here I just round up to 4 sig fig. If, again, your instructor or professor is going to know about sig figs. You're given 1.872 to start the problem, which is 4 sig figs. So I'm just going to end my answer with 4 sig figs here. Okay, that's it. Alright, I hope that helps. Stay nerdy. Don't be whack.